ones that try to stand, I have a walking stick that I've been using for the last 7 or 8 months, but today I started walking around without it, and it felt pretty good while I was not walking, while not using the walking stick. He mentioned that sort of an even split as far as the family and friends are here, but I also like to say that some of the family are also friends, so you know who you are. I'm going to tell a story that I call the story of 2 weddings. Now, some of you have heard this before, so I may say some things that I didn't say before, because I've been told that since I don't have a script, that I may be making up part of it today. So you don't have any way to check on what I'm going to say. But actually, to get straight to the point, and I'll elaborate a little bit. Dad and I were married twice. The first time we eloped, which was April. Yours started in May. It was April 4th, 1953. I didn't know about the year for it. And the next one took place on July the 11th, which that would have been this week, yes, Tuesday, I believe. But so we have always celebrated at least quietly on both those days. But we even have another day that we celebrate, and that was the date of our first date, which was July. July, I get mixed up in the days. That was January 21st. 1953. We met at Young Harris College. At that time, Young Harris was a junior college opened out to North Georgia, just 2 miles south of North Carolina border. And Tennessee is pretty close to there also. But that's not has got much to do with the story. But our first date, we went to church. It was on a Sunday night. That was the only place you could go in Young Harris. And the church happened to be on the campus about no more than 100 yards from the dormitory. So all I had to do was go up to the girls' dormitory and ask somebody to go get packed. So we walked down to the church, and then the church is over. We had to go directly back to the dormitory, because the girls were not allowed to stay out after 7 o'clock. So that's how everything started. And another aside from that we celebrate the day, this date is January 21st, is celebrating our first date. So a few years ago, we walked into Chick-fil-A. We were celebrating so much. They go to Chick-fil-A. It was a little bit late when they got there. Very few people were there. And we talked to the lady who was there. She seemed like she was doing about everything. And it just pops into my head. I said, I just want to tell you something. We chose to come here tonight to celebrate the 66th anniversary of our first date. She looked at me like we were crazy. A little bit crazy anyway. But it was a good move on our part, because he gave us a free sandwich. Now you might want to try that sometime, see if that will work for you. But we haven't tried it since. I don't think it worked twice. But after we get back, we have a few days, and it's time to go home. So I went home for the spring, and at the end of the spring, and she went back to St. Mary's, Georgia, which was her home. My home was in a little town called Salem, which is, you probably have never heard of. It's about 14 miles out of Athens, Georgia. So we had the summer to write letters and to tell each other how much we loved them and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we were looking forward to our next year back at Young Harris. By this time, I kind of felt like, this is really a girl I want to marry someday. So it didn't take very long. I was 18, so she was 8. By this time, she was 18. So while while, I started thinking about this. So during the coming year, we did discuss it a time or two, and we finally decided we would, well, we didn't decide then, we decided we were going to wait till we graduated from college. I knew that I was going to the University of Georgia, and I always wanted to be on one of the ball teams at Georgia, so I was going to be a walk-on as far as basketball, because I played 2 years at Harris on the basketball team, and also on the tennis team. So I was going to be a walk-on for something. I knew that I could be on the track team because when I was working in high school, I would go to the Georgia track, and the Georgia track coach would tell me with my techniques. I was a hurdler. And I was so good, I won a state championship in high school in the low hurdles. So I knew I could be on the track team. I went over there. But my first love was basketball. And if you're going to get to be a basketball coach in high school, you had to have some kind of a degree, and you had to teach. So I got my degree in education. We talked about getting married, and so we thought we would get married, after we got out of college. But when we got out of school at Young Harris, her folks would not let her go to school at Georgia, mainly because I was going to be there. That's not much of a recommendation, is it? So we didn't know quite how we were going to handle it, but I also found out from the athletic department in Georgia that since I didn't actually graduate from Young Harris College, that I would have to sit out a year. I would be eligible to play basketball or be on the track team or anything. I'd have to wait a year. And so that sort of set the wheels in motion, and we were deciding that how we would handle this. So I added up all of what it was going to take in order for me to graduate a year early. This was 52. So I actually got it all scheduled in the fall and summer. I graduated from Georgia, and I also had a job lined up when I was doing student teaching over at the Georgia. I let the coaches know they were at the school. It was a football school. They had 5 football coaches, but some of them had to fill in for basketball and some of them track. And I told them, well, that was 2 of my specialties. So they were excited about that. If I could make it hire me, then I could relieve them and have them do them. So they called me up to the superintendent of the school and he offered me a job, provided I graduated in time. So that's how I got to be a teacher. So, but in the meantime, we still decided before this that we want to get married that summer. And so we decided what we would do. We would go and tell them that we were going to get married during the summer. Then we changed our mind and we decided there's going to be such a thing because she and her mother did not have a great relationship with the stepmother. Because her mother died when Pat was only 3 years old. So in planning, we would decide we would just elope. So on April the 4th, we left our homes in Salem, and we drove to Rossville, Georgia. I read in the paper that Rossville, Georgia was where all the people from Tennessee came to get married because the laws were different. And Rossville is a suburb of Chattanooga. So we decided to go to Rossville. We didn't know where to go. I'd never been there before. But here we are. We were 20 years old. And so we figured we could ride it. So we drove into Rossville, and very soon after we got there, we saw a sign in the yard of the Baptist preacher there, and he said, marriage is performed here. So we stopped there. That was the first place we saw. And so that's how we got married the first time. So we figured we had to tell her folks. Now, we did tell our folks. We had to tell somebody so you know that we were married. I had to borrow my father's car to go make that trip. So we told them, and they were very happy for us because they loved Pat. And they were just tell the boy, don't screw this up. You've got a jewel at this young lady, and so let's don't screw it up some way. So they were willing to keep our secret. Yeah, they may have told somebody, I don't know, maybe some members of the family, but if they did, I guess it's okay. It's a long time ago. So then we were going to just go to her home and tell them that we already got married, rather than tell them we were going to get married in the summer. So we knew there would be a big scene there. So she wrote them a letter telling them we were going to be there on a Friday night. I picked her up at school. She had been going to GSCW, that's Georgia State College for Women. And we picked her up and we went on. And when we got there, they were not at home. So we didn't know what was going to happen. Always it's Friday night. So while we were there, of course, we had the rings and we wanted to show them. And we got to thinking, this is going to be a problem when they get here. It's going to be bad. So we changed our plan. And we said, well, what we'll do, we'll just tell them we're planning to get married. And it was pretty bad still even at that. We were planning to do that. And they had to call the doctor to her mom. And came to quiet her down. But we let her have her wedding too. She always wanted to plan the wedding. And since there were no other children, that was it. And so this gave her the job to plan the wedding, which we held on July the 11th in 1953. So that was the second time that we got married. So that's why this is a story about two weddings. But one other thing I want to tell you about, while we were in school at Harris, each year they would have a contest. I'm not sure what they call it, a beauty contest, maybe a beauty contest, but it was a contest to name Miss Young Harris College. And so Pat was one of the people who would enter into the contest. And I was excited that she was only going to be in it. That's my girl, I would tell everybody. She's going to be in the contest. But on the night of the contest, we were still had to practice basketball. So, of course, and I was a starter on the team, and it's important that I be there for the practice. But we finally convinced the coach to let us out a little bit early because we wanted to go to see what was going on with the contest back in the chapel. So when we got there, they were announcing the last 6 contestants that were going to eliminate a few at a time. There were 6 people left. I looked up, Pat was still there. And so it's a rather strange way they did it after that, because they called out, said these are the 3 third place winners, and they named 3 ladies. We can call her name. So I said, well, just 3 left. She's got a good shot. So the next thing they announced it, and the 2 second place winners called their names. It was not her name. It registered it. She won. And so when I realized that they announced it, she was the first place winner. So I hauled out, and the people were clapping. They probably didn't hear me. But I hauled out, that's my girl. So I was very proud of her. I don't want to embarrass her, but she was the best looking girl in the contest. And one of the smartest girl in the contest. Had to be, was my girl, I guess. But that's sort of how we had why we had the 2 weddings, because it was easier to do that. And I have to say it's worked out great. After 70 years, it's 70 years, well, this is the second wedding. We had it in the summer because we could choose the date to have it. So this was the week that they on the second wedding. That's some of you haven't heard that before, you've looked at it before, you're probably surprised to know that. When our kids found out that what we had done, which was many, many years later, one of our sons, Mark, he's somewhere, and he's over there. He was looking for some kind of a paper that he thought I had in one of my files, and he was looking around and he saw some things I had written about it, and he didn't understand. So I think he got this figure out and presented it and said, "What's the meaning of all of this?" And so we had to tell him, which then I had to tell the other kids also, because we have 4 of them. And so when we told them, I always remember Bruce's remark. Bruce is sitting over here in the green cup. Bruce said, "Dad, I'm really not surprised at you, but Mom, I am really surprised at you." But he didn't apologize to him for doing it. But anyway, the kids had different ideas about it, and they never expressed it quite like Bruce did. But anyway, they got used to the idea, and like it's all a novel thing. So we were really a little bit different family because of that. And so that's how we happened to be getting married twice. And so I guess you say the first time we were doing it just because we were going to do it. And the second time we did it to appease her mother. So that worked out. They never knew. Their parents never knew. So we never told them, and nobody else did tell them, because they always lived a great distance apart. So that's but those are the story. Those are the story. And sometimes when I feel it, I have a lot more details about explaining why. She warned me not to get into too much. So I've been warned. So but I want to say one thing. That, and I see this quite often, and I'm not doing this to embarrass anybody, but when she gives me that smile, like I remember, when I look into that face, and I see an 18-year-old girl back in the in 1950. So that's what I see, and I see that quite often. I probably should sit down. Maybe I'll end this game. So, Nancy, do you want the microphone back, or will somebody else? Nancy said you could say anything you want to do. If somebody wants to say anything, get the mic. Get the mic and do it.
Hi, my name's Sharice Miller, and my husband and I bought Yellow Cat's house back in 1988. And I went to the Barrett's house, and we figured out that we've lived there longer than they lived there. It's the Barrett Miller's house now. But I remember when we were looking to move and our family was growing, they put the house up for sale, and my parents just put 2 doors there. So we grew up knowing all of their children. Actually, was in our wedding and everything. But I said, ooh, I would love to move into Bill Cat's house. So we went and reached out, their buyers, and we said, we really would love to move here, but we just can't afford it. So about 6 months passed, and I think it was an Easter weekend. We get a call from Bill. He said, "Grace, you still want that house?" And I said, "Yeah, but we still can't afford it." He says, "I don't care, we'll make it so you can afford it." And so he said, "We just got to get some renters out here. They were storing their house." Do you remember that? And so anyway, he made it possible. I mean, he got the money he wanted for it, and we were able to afford it and move in, and we've been there since 1988. And it's funny watching the picture of the house. The day is still on Pat Barrett because I know too much of it. But anyway, we've enjoyed living at the house eventually. Sometimes I think about moving just because, you know, it's an old house and you're going to have things old or new. But I don't think I could ever really move because it's so special to us now. But we cook pool in the backyard. We put air conditioning in the attic this last summer. So we have air conditioning upstairs now. So it's always fun to catch up with them and we wish you a happy anniversary. You got married the day before I was born.
Oh, wow.
I have never known that. And Bill and I share the same birthday. I mean, Bruce and I share the same birthday.
3 years apart.
Yeah, 3 years apart. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for including us in this special day. I'm not a public speaker. We grew up 2 houses away from the Barretts. The house she lives in now is their house, and we all grew up with all 4 of the Barrett children and just loved them. In fact, today I said, did we even ring the doorbell when we came into the house? Because it just felt so much like we just went back and forth between each other's houses. And I just remember feeling so accepted at your house and so loved. And you just took us like we were, and like Bruce was saying, we happened to be at your house when it was supper time, we ate with them, and you were just so kind to us and helped raise me, I think. I think you did a pretty good job. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I've already thanked Mr. Barrett, I still call him Mr. Barrett. When I had just graduated from high school, I'm not really sure how it got started, but he worked at CNS Bank in Columbia, and I think I was just looking for a job, and he knew the right people and did everything he could to help me get a job that I enjoyed for 9 years, and it was just kind of the beginning of growing up and seeing what the world was like, so I'm really grateful to you for that. I couldn't believe he remembered a story that he used to actually, we drove in together, and he would take me to work. And after I worked there for the first year, next summer, I bought a car. And he remembers my daddy telling him, "You shouldn't buy that car." And you said that she's worked hard, and she's earned that money, she can go buy that car. He wouldn't sign for it or anything, so thanks to his job, I was able to get my first little car. But I just love y'all so much, and I'm like Sharice, we feel so honored that y'all included us in this event. And that's our brother right there, that's James. Thank you.
So, I wasn't any good at basketball, but Coach B was, you usually were the basketball coach at our Greenlawn Baptist Church. And I wasn't any good at it, but I loved it. I loved going to Saturday mornings, going and playing basketball. And they had a basketball court in the driveway, and we played basketball, pickup basketball in the afternoons, but when it was basketball season anyway. I mean, David and Bruce did all kinds of sports. But like my sister said, we were like part of the family or something. We would just go down there, and I don't remember if we knocked on the door or not, but I ate a lot of food at your house. A lot of food. Anyway, I was always doing stuff with David and Bruce. We went camping and backpacking and stuff like that. But one day I went down to see David or Bruce, and I looked in the window, and these two were dancing around in their kitchen. My parents didn't do anything. I was so surprised. Are they in love or something?
And I am the only living witness to the second wedding. doing Pat's training, I remember my mother's pearls broke, and pearls went everywhere. So it was an exciting day. Everybody had such a good time. And we went to Pat's mother opened her home to have a reception there, and it was absolutely a beautiful thing. And I remember a lot of things about Uncle Bill and Pat, probably during the first marriage that I didn't really realize it was the first marriage. Pat had loved to drive, and it was always as fast as she could go. The radio turned up. And do you remember the accident she had? The car turned over several times, but the radio was still going in the night. Remember that. And then one of my fondest memories, our grandfather, Paul Barrett, had the most wonderful, kindest soul of any man I've ever known. And he loved his sons. They did lose one of them. It was between my daddy and Uncle Bill, Paul Jones. And I always say, I'm named Paulette because of Daddy Paul, because Uncle Bill takes credit for naming me. And then because Paul Jones was no longer with us, so I had the name of Paulette. It wasn't always the easiest name, but I was so proud of it because it was from my granddaddy. Uncle Bill always remembers my birthday, and I get a special call from them. So they're very, very dear to us. And in our family, from my grandfather and Bebe, his mother, there was always so much love, always around us. Always football, always Georgia. His father went to Georgia. In fact, my grandparents met under the arches at Georgia, and Bebe had a college degree. So education was always so important in our family. Sports and having family together, and it's such a wonderful place to be in that house. The first house where Pat and Bill were, I was standing over there a while ago thinking, how in the world did we all get in there? Where did we all sleep? Because it was a small house at that time. They were waiting to build another house, and but it was wonderful. They would stay in the kitchen and play Scrabble and play cards. And so I grew up in such a warm, loving environment, and always the Lord was first.
Hello, my name is Aaron, and I'm one of the blessed grandchildren of Grandma and Grandpa. So going to Grandma and Grandpa's house was always really fun because I first met them when they lived in Myrtle Beach. So that's what I think of when I think of my grandparents, is by the beach and Broadway at the beach and mini golf and shopping. And so it was always fun to just basically be able to have vacations there. I didn't realize at the time that my parents were taking advantage of a free place to send their kids off for a week. But now I get it. I'm like, oh, this is something I could do when I have kids. So
We don't want it to be.
I know, but you gotta pull it. But I'm just really blessed. And I think I speak for all the grandchildren because we had so many fun celebrations. I remember coming up for Thanksgiving, and all the cousins were there. So there were kids my age to play with, and my sisters to play with. And all the uncles were there and aunts, and there were people just engage with and interact with. And it was just, we were all together in your place in Myrtle Beach. And the family reunions in Helen, Georgia. I think it's Unicoi State Park, where we would go and get together. And that was always just a blast to go tubing and horseback riding, and then have a big picnic out there. at the park. And so those are some of my fondest memories. But I'm just blessed to have those memories and just to also see the example that you've set for 70 years, being married, being loyal to each other. I was kind of thinking to myself, how old would I be if I was to get to 70 years? Right now I'm 2 years married, so I'm 33. So I don't know if I'm going to make 70, but I'm honored to know two lovely people who set an example of that. So thank you, Grandma and Grandpa. Love you so much.
Was that whenever the grandkids would go over to their house at the beach when they were little, they would come back and they would have learned a lot. One of the things that Mom would do would have an amazing prize. I would think, we're spoiling them rotten, but it would be like name all the books in the Bible. And so, you know, for kids, yeah, I'll do that for a new Beanie Baby or $20 or whatever, you know, the price was, or for a trip to Build-A-Bear. But you know, they thought that they were getting the best end of the deal, you know, with that. But actually, so they did. They got two prizes. They got the Word of God in their hearts, and then plus a material prize too. So Mom was always pretty clever about that, to do that. I will say that we were raised in the church, that we were always there. We were there for everything. Sundays, choir, for me, GAs, for boys, RAs, you know, Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and that was just normal. And so I love the Bible verse that says, raise a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. So I still think that even that we hear that some children, they're raised and then they go away, they stray away, they don't need church anymore, but I think that word is still in their heart and that God can still use it, and when they're old, they will come back to it. I think it's very difficult when if you don't have it in your heart, when you're old, you've got nothing there. It's really hard, and hearts get hard. But Mom's always been a great teacher. How many years did you teach elementary school? Over 20 years, right? So anyway, she's always been a great teacher. Mom's always been involved with children's lives, and always wanting to teach, and always wanting to be a good example for Christ. Dad too, he's always been into sports, just everything. I mean, if there's a ball involved, he likes that game. So, avid tennis player, made it to state championship in tennis one year. Up until like 6 years ago, after they moved here, they've been here for almost 10 years. He was playing tennis 3 days a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, he was working out at Hawaii. So, I know, it's hard. It's hard when you have to give some things up, but you've got a lot to be proud of, and live the life that is not over, but you can look back and be proud of it, and know that people are thankful for what you poured into them. Mm-hmm. So, I don't want to bore you any longer, but just to say, you know, they're great parents and just great people. So I didn't know how well loved they were. I mean, when I was a kid, they were just my parents. But then to go out and see, you know, other people, oh, I just love your parents. Even after moving here, people that I've known in the choir, oh, we just love your parents. They're just so wonderful. I'm like, oh, yeah. I guess you're right. So if anybody else wants to say anything, it's still open. But again, we are truly thankful that you came today.
Several years ago, Matt and Bill joined our Sunday school class, and what a blessing it's been since that day, Bill and Pat. He's just been a blessing to us in our church. And Nancy and the choir, my goodness, she's just outstanding. One Sunday she led the choir, Randy, our music director Randy Kirby was on vacation, and Nancy done a superb job. And I told old Randy Kirby, you can go on, we don't need you anymore. So I just want to say what a blessing you two have been to our church and our Sunday school class. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jake Barrett, I'm one of the grandchildren, and it has been a tremendous blessing to be able to grow up as a grandchild. Pattonville, some of the funnest time of my life. We'll always be up there. Spend time at the old Kingston, wasting money at the magic shop at Broadway Beach. Begging to watch some windows as fireworks. It was paradise. Joe always made that very special every time we would come. It was vacation, it was time. And I was always very grateful for how y'all went out of y'all's way to make it an event. And I certainly had the opportunity to live with y'all as an adult. And just very grateful, will always be grateful for the grace that you've shown me throughout my life. And you always showed me love in every circumstance. The tremendous example that you set for marriage, so I'm very grateful for both of you. Love you both.
I'm Melissa Barrett, and I'm married to Mark. I'm the newest in-law, but they're 4 children. And they just have welcomed me, and it's just great to be part of the Barrett clan. I'm an only child. Both my parents are deceased, so this is my family. And y'all have done, you are so great people, so great parents. I've married the love of my life, and he is the sweetest man, and that's because of you two.
I'll just say one more thing. Years ago, my father was being praised for what he had done for the community and for the school. A lot of people were speaking, and he got up and said, I could listen to these good things all day, and I thought I was going to have to.
Hello, my name is Dad Rani, and my husband and I live across the street from Bill and Pat. And we moved here June 2018. And I remember still when they knocked at the door, came over, and Pat had her delicious brownies and brought them over. And we had, as if we knew them for a long time. She is such an elegant lady, loves the Lord, speaks so well, and both of us are teachers, so we had a bond kind of between us. And Bill is so smart, has done all these jobs, and it's not only smart and elegant, but they are so kind, and it's a privilege really to know both of you, and it is a blessing.